बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। गुज़िश्ता से पेवस्ता हम ज़ाइलम डिस्कस कर रहे थे। अब ज़ाइलम का स्ट्रक्चर, कंपोजिशन, क्लासिफिकेशन, प्राइमरी, सेकेंडरी ज़ाइलम किसे कहते हैं, ज़रा कोशिश करते हैं कि इसको तफसील से कर लें। Now, coming to the way we are going to learn in detail about the xylem, that what is actually a vascular tissue. Xylem is the part of vascular tissue system. Then what is xylem? What are the components, elements of xylem? What are tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers in xylem parenchyma? How xylem is classified into primary, which is again protoxylem and metaxylem, and then secondary xylem. So these are our learning objectives. Coming to the point that what is vascular tissue system? Vascular tissue associated with conduction in plants. Plants contain xylem and phloem, you know that. Vascular plants with well-developed conductive system, they are known as tracheophyta. Tracheids, lapophyton plants. Tracheids are special cells, water conducting cells present in the xylem, and these are present in certain plants which are known as tracheophyta, vascular plants, while all other are known as non-vascular plants. You study that in archegoniates, for example, the bryophyta, algae, fungi, these are non-vascular plants. Main function of vascular tissue: conduction, conduct water, mineral and food material. That vascular tissue system जो है ये दो किस्म के शेप लेकर जाता है, एक इनऑर्गेनिक शेप है और एक ऑर्गेनिक शेप है. The inorganic shape is carried by the xylem. It is single circuit system, one way from soil to the leaves, while the organic shape, which is mostly sugars and some amino acid in that, that is carried by the phloem. The phloem is a double circuit system. It can carry away and can carry back the organic food, the organic shape to a certain organ. तो मतलब ये है कि जाइलम में ज़मीन से लीफ तक का सफ़र होता है, जिसमें ज़्यादातर मिनरल्स होते हैं जो प्लांट के लिए ज़रूरी होते हैं और वाटर होता है. एडिशनल फंक्शन प्रोवाइड मैकेनिकल सपोर्ट, तो लिग्निन से बना है, वाटर लेकर जाता है, टर्जिडिटी लाता है. साथ ही साथ सेकेंडरी जाइलम को आप देख लें तो वास्कुलर टिश्यू सिस्टम एक बेहतरीन मैकेनिकल सपोर्ट प्रोवाइड करता है. Now coming to the vascular tissue system, vascular tissue composed of two types of tissue discussed. Xylem and phloem are complex tissue discussed. More than one type of cell discussed. Xylem and phloem are closely organized in plants. For example, phloem is phloiose, that means bark, and xylose, wood. So inside the wood, the xylem is present, and outside the wood, bark is present. So bark is phloiose, the phloem is present. The phloem is present in the bark of the tree. Xylem and phloem are closely organized in plants. Vascular bundles are formed by association of xylem and phloem that may be closed, open, which will be discussed in some other classes. Vascular tissue system xylem. What is xylem? A conduction tissue in plants, term proposed by Nageli, 1858. Xylus means wood. Carl Nageli proposed that term. Main function conduction of water and mineral from root to leaves. बचपन से आप पढ़ते आ रहे हो जाइलम जमीन से और फ्लोएम फिल से. Additional function provide mechanical support, secondary xylem. Two types of xylem in plants are there. One is known as primary xylem and another is known as secondary xylem. Actually, that classification is on the basis of origin because their the meristematic cells are different from which they originate. The first one is embryonic, formed from pro-meristem. Pro means embryonic meristem during primary growth. The secondary xylem formed from vascular cambium during secondary growth. So secondary xylem, vascular cambium is formed from the pro-meristem. So that will be, again, that will form the cambium and the cambium will form secondary xylem. A complex tissue composed of many types of cells. Complex tissue, हम सिंपल और कॉम्प्लेक्स के बारे में पढ़ चुके हैं, आपको अच्छी तरह क्लियर है. प्राइमरी xylem versus secondary xylem. Primary xylem in the primary plant body developed from procambium, organized as bundle along the phloem, vascular bundles. मेन फंक्शन इनका कंडक्शन है, वाटर है, मिनरल्स हैं. जबकि सेकेंडरी xylem in secondary plant body developed from vascular cambium, lateral meristem, main functions water and mineral conduction, additional function provide mechanical support. So यहाँ पर ये 4 पॉइंट्स अभी आप देख लो सेकेंडरी xylem के बारे में. सेकेंडरी प्लांट बॉडी मीन्स के कैम्बियम मीन्स के जहाँ पर सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ होती है, जहाँ पर थिकनेस आती है. तो कैम्बियम जिनके अंदर होता है उसको लेटरल मेरिस्टेम कहते हैं. यू नो दैट. वो लेटरल मेरिस्टेम आगे जाकर तो सेकेंडरी xylem बनाता है और सेकेंडरी xylem से ये वुड बनता है, थिकनिंग बढ़ती है, water and mineral conduction, additional, functional, provide mechanical support. Vascular tissue system में what are, हम xylem पढ़ रहे हैं, what are the components of xylem. इससे पहले के लेक्चर में भी मैं एक सरसरी सा मतलब थोड़ा सा ऐसे आपको करा चुका हूँ. तो xylem composed of several types of cells. Some are living, some are dead. तो the elements of xylems are जो इनके जो component हैं, element हैं, वो ये wood के अंदर, xylose के अंदर, xylem के अंदर 4 components हैं. There are 4 components in it: tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma. ये जो आपको नज़र आ रहे हैं ये बेसिकली ट्रेकीड्स हैं. ये जो बड़े बड़े आपको नज़र आ रहे हैं ये 10 टाइम्स लार्जर जो डायमीटर है इनका, जो 10 टाइम्स वाइडर हैं, तो बेसिकली ये वेसल्स हैं. ये स्पेशली एंजियोस्पर्म्स में होते हैं. तो वेसल्स हैं, ट्रेकीड्स हैं और साथ ही साथ थोड़ा सा पेरेन्काइमा है, रे पेरेन्काइमा. Ray are actually longitudinal cells which are different in position from others. So they are longitudinally, they are present longitudinally. So that's why they are known as ray parenchyma. They are actually for repairing and for the cleaning of wood from germs. They protect, they give biological protection, or sort of you can say that immunity of plant. Tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers, xylem parenchyma. These are the four components: tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma. Now let's discuss it one by one in 2 points. If you see here, this lumen means the empty space. In between a tracheid is a smaller thing, and the smaller one that is very narrow. And if you look here into the vessels, the lumen, that is known as the lumen, empty space that is wider. So tracheids, fundamental types, cell types in the xylem. Tracheids are present all over vascular plants, are elongated tube-like cells. They are non-living at maturity. Mature cell is empty without protoplast. Mature cell is empty without protoplast. Cell with secondary cell wall, because if there is secondary cell wall, there will be a lignin. So your secondary cell wall will be highly lignified, a type of heteropolysaccharide. Cells angular and polygonal in cross section, that is, of course, average length is 5 to 6 millimeter. Both the ends of tracheids are tapering. You can see that end and that end, both ends are tapering. नुकीले से हो जाते हैं. Ends of tracheids of cells, secondary xylem is chisel-like. So पानी की तरह होते हैं. Major part of cell is imperforate, only have pits pair at common walls. So that pit pairs इनमें होते हैं. Pits may be circular or elongated bordered. Tracheids are the only xylem elements in pteridophytes. Because in pteridophytes, you will not find the vessels. In majority, we are talking about the majority cases. Primitive angiosperm, drymus, typodendron, tetracentron, xylem is only composed of tracheids. Vessels are absent. So even some angiosperms, they lack the no vessels are present in them. Later on, you will see that during this lecture, what are trocodendron, drymus. This plant is known as drymus, and tetracentron. These are flowering plants. These are actually angiosperms, but they lack vessels. Now, tracheids have certain patterns of secondary thickening. Secondary cell wall material are laid down in lateral walls of tracheids. Many patterns of secondary thickening occur in tracheids. So on the basis of these thickening, tracheids are classified accordingly. Some of them are annular thickening. You can see that 2 and 3 over here, that is annular thickening. Annulus means ring. So the thickening is a ring-like. That's why they are known as annular thickening. The first one is parenchyma, of course, which give it a drive. 4, 5, 6 are spiral vessels. 4, 5, and 6. These are spiral or helical thickenings. You can see it over here, and over here. 4 and 5 and 6. And these are again xylem parenchyma. Scalariform vessels. Scalariforms are actually the ladder-like. So if you look at the 7th number, the number 7 of it, you will see that this thickening is a ladder-like. Another one is a reticulate vessel. Reticulate means it is forming a mesh or network, a network that is reticulate, and the 5th one is pitted thickening. So annular, spiral, scalariform, reticulate, and pitted thickening are found. These patterns are found in tracheids. Annular thickening, secondary thickening occurs as rings. Lignin deposition occurs as ring, one above the other. So most primitive type thickening, that is annular thickening. That can be an MCQ in your lectureship examination. Remember, go to the morphology as well as the evolutionary touch of a topic. Annular thickening, these are the most primitive type of thickening. Again, the second one is spiral thickening, also called as helical thickening. So the thickening is deposited into a helix or spiral shape. So that is known as spiral thickening. Scalariform. Scalariform thickening is a type of thickening which is a ladder-like thickening. Wall material deposit as transverse bands. Bands are with few interconnections, and pit occurs in between the thickening. Reticulate thickening. Reticulate thickening, you can see in this diagram over here that the thickening is like a network. जैसे मछलियों का जाल होता है, तो इसी वजह से इसको रेटिकुलेट कहते हैं. Also called a net-like thickening, net-like distribution of secondary material. Pitted thickening. सेकेंडरी वॉल मटेरियल इवनली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हो जाते हैं. यहाँ पर लेस यूनिफॉर्म थिकनेस होती है, का मोर और लेस यूनिफॉर्म थिकनेस ही होती है. द पिट्स आर डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड ऑल ओवर एंटायर सरफेस. यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं पिट्स हर जगह बिखरे पड़े होते हैं. ये है पिटेड थिकनिंग देख लें. तो मोस्ट एडवांस टाइप ऑफ थिकनिंग इज दैट नेचर इन अरेंजमेंट ऑफ पिट्स ऑफ nature and arrangement of pits varies. Pits may be circular or elongated bordered. Scalariform pitted tracheids, elongate bordered pits arranged in scalariform pattern in a ladder-like appearance. That is like this. Scalariform pitted tracheids दोनों का शो करते हैं. So now tracheids structure in relation to function. Tracheids are spirally, specially adapted for water and mineral conduction. सेल्स जो होते हैं वो टैपरिंग होते हैं, इनमें प्रोटोप्लास्ट नहीं होता मेच्योरिटी पर, लिग्निफाइड सेल वाल होते हैं, एंड वाल्स आर प्रोवाइडेड विद पिट्स पेयर, और cells are placed end to end to long extends the organ in which they occur. Water and mineral passage takes place through pit membrane. तो यहाँ पर जो torus होता है of pit act as a wall. ये torus act as a that act as a wall. So tracheids also provide mechanical support. अब आते हैं vessels की तरफ. Vessels को also called is trachea. शॉर्ट सेल्स होते हैं, शॉर्टर देन ट्रैकीज होते हैं, बट नॉन लिविंग भी होते हैं, थोड़े से और डिवाइड ऑफ प्रोटोप्लास्टिक मैच्योरिटी. ये ट्यूब लाइक सेल्स होते हैं, अरेंज इन सीरीज इन एंड टू एंड फैशन में होते हैं, अरेंज पैरेलल टू द लॉन्ग एक्सिस ऑफ ऑर्गन होते हैं. न्यूमरस पिट प्रेजेंट इन लेटरल वॉल्स ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन. बता चुके हैं कि इनमें फ्लो ऑफ वाटर ज़्यादा होता है, क्योंकि बाज़ पहले लेक्चर में मैं बता चुका हूँ कि एडहेसिव फोर्सेस की वजह से अगर वाटर के मॉलिक्यूल चिपक जाते हैं तो ल्यूमन कम हो जाता है, डायमीटर कैपिलरी का छोटा हो जाता है और थोड़ा पानी बहता है. वेसल्स चूँकि डायमीटर में बड़े हैं तो ये एडहेसिव फोर्सेस की वजह से अगर वाटर के साथ चिपका भी होता है तो दरमियान में फ्लो ऑफ वाटर तेज होगा, इसलिए कि इसका डायमीटर बड़ा है. कंपोनेंट ऑफ वेसल्स आर कॉल्ड वेसल सेगमेंट्स और वेसल एलिमेंट्स. वेसल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन among plants, so vessels occur mainly in xylem of angiosperm, absent in pteridophytes usually. Some cases are present but usually absent in pteridophytes in gymnosperms. नीटम में मौजूद होते हैं, जिम्नोस्पर्म में. It is a strong evidence for the gymnospermic origin of angiosperms. Neatum is a connecting link between gymnosperms and angiosperms. Vessels present in some pteridophytes, pteridium, selaginella, equisetum, इनमें मौजूद हैं. So evolutionary history, because you know selaginella has a heterospory as well, and it is believed that the heterospory of the higher plants that came from the selaginella like plants. So again, some anatomical features are also that are similar with the angiosperms. Neatum wood with vessels, pinus wood without vessels. Now let's come to the vessel distribution among plants. In some primitive angiosperms, vessels are absent. As a rule, we say that vessels are present in angiosperms, but exceptions are present in non-angiosperms as well as in angiosperms. Non-angiosperm may contain, some forms even may contain the vessels, and some angiosperm may not contain the vessels. For example, Trocodendron, Tetracentron, Drans. Vessel absent in aquatic plant, absent in parasitic plants. Some succulent do not have vessels. So aquatic plants में आपको नहीं मिलेंगे. मतलब अगर आप ये जाएंगे क्या कहते हैं निम्फिया और क्या कहते हैं नीरियम, नीलम्बू, कंवल, बरसंडा, लोटस, ठीक है. इसी तरह पिस्चिया. Vessels are absent in parasitic plants. So some parasitic plants, you are well aware of it. Some succulents. Succulents are those plants which store water in their body. So they are also devoid of vessels. Absence is due to evolutionary reduction. Monocot like Yucca and Dracena do not have vessels. So some monocot like euca, they are without the vessels. These are the plants which I have told you, the trocodendron, sometimes colloquially called as wheel tree, and Drymus genus, about 8 species, woody evergreen flower plants in the family Interaceae, Drymus convertifolia. You see, the same that Tetracentron is a genus of flowering plant with some living species. They say Tetracentron sinensis and several extant species. These are here. Now let's come to discuss the structure of vessel. These are made up of series of cells placed end to end, long tube-like appearance. Each cell is called vessel member. So they are superimposed and form that all structure. Vessel members have perforation, large opening at the end wall. Usually vessel members are shorter than tracheids. Diameter is much larger than that of the tracheids. So remember that vessels are wider than tracheids. In highly advanced form, cells are with shorter length and wider diameter. In Quercus alba, vessels are drum-shaped. That is most advanced type. Ends of vessels members are oblique and transverse. Vessels with oblique end is primitive. Vessels with transverse end is advanced. So in some plants, tail-like tips occur beyond the end wall. These tail, for example, malus. These tail-like tips are present in the plants like malus. Vessel structure. Openings or pores in vessel member wall is known as perforations. Perforation plate, the region of vessels with perforation occurs. So pores in vessel members, these are perforation, and perforation plates, the region of vessels with perforation, perforation occurs. Where perforation occurs is known as perforation plates. You can see that. That is perforation plate. That is perforation plate. And that is in the vessel member, and the vessel member over here. There is a perforation plate. Usually perforation occurs at the end wall. Some lateral perforation may occur. So they also occur. So vessel structure. Different types of perforation plates. Simple perforation plate, a plate with single perforation, that is advanced. Multiple perforation plate, a perforation plate with many perforations. Scalariform perforation, a multiple perforation plate with perforation arranged in parallel series. Now remember, some people consider it advanced one and some people consider it simple. That is not advanced one, that is primitive. Wall region of pore in scalariform perforation plate, perforation bar. The wall region of pores in scalariform perforation plate is known as perforation bar. Reticulate perforation plate. Pores arranged in reticulate fashion is known as reticulate perforation plate. So अगर हम देखें तो simple perforation plate एक ही होगा. Multiple perforation plate with many perforations. Scalariform, multiple perforation plate with perforation arranged in parallel series. Perforation bar, wall region of pores in scalariform perforation plate. तो इनको जो wall region होगा उसको परफोरेशन बार कहेंगे, और पोर्स अरेंज इन रेटिकुलेट फैशन तो उसको रेटिकुलेट कहेंगे. फोरामिनेट टाइप ऑफ परफोरेशन पहले लेक्चर में मैं से काफ़ी अच्छी तरह से डिस्कस कर चुका हूँ, आपको बता भी चुका हूँ. मैनी पोर्स अरेंज मोर और सर्कुलस पैटर्न आर कॉल्ड इफिड्रॉइड. तो परफोरेशन प्लेट इफिडॉइड. Secondary thickening of vessel is similar to tracheid, so that may be the annular, spiral, scalariform, reticulate, and pitted thickening, it is believed that vessel arise from tracheates. तो इनके निशानात तो होंगे, इनके जो निशानियां हैं, उनके जो आसार हैं, उनके अंदर मौजूद होंगे. Pitted thickening is characteristics of metaxylem and secondary xylem. Secondary cell wall pit xylems are commonly bordered. Pits distribution pattern varies. The pits are distributed in three basic patterns: scalariform, opposite, and alternate pitting. Elongated with pits in ladder-like arrangement. Pits arranged in horizontal rows in pairs. Pits arranged in diagonal rows. तो स्केलरिफॉर्म है, अपोजिट है और अल्टरनेट पिटिंग मौजूद है. Primary xylem vessels are formed from longitudinal cells of procambia. Secondary xylem vessels are formed from the vascular cambium. So vascular cambium is there, that is fascicular and interfascicular. Initial the vessels in both cambium is called primordial vessel member. Primordial vessel member वो होते हैं जहाँ से इनका जो इनिशियल्स होते हैं इनके, उनको प्राइमोर्डियल वेसल मेंबर कहते हैं. प्राइमोर्डियल वेसल मेंबर्स हैव डेंस साइटोप्लाज्म, क्योंकि जितना ज़्यादा मेरिस्टेमेटिक के करीब होगा उनका प्रोटोप्लाज्म उतना डेंस होगा. Vessels secondary wall are laid down by content of primordial cell. Secondary wall layers are deposited in pattern characteristics of given types of vessel elements. So, जैसे vessel element है, primordial cell इनको शुरू करता है और secondary wall are laid down by content of primordial cell wall, and secondary wall layers are deposited in a pattern characteristics of a given type of vessel element. For example, annular है, tracheid है, pitted है, इस तरह से. Perforation areas are not thickened by deposition of wall material. तो wall perforation area को की wall material पर ये thick नहीं होता. After secondary thickening completed, the protoplasm disintegrates or exchange is impossible then. So the protoplasm dies and that disintegrates and the dead cells remains and they become the capillaries and they become the tubes and they become the conducting tissue, and they can carry the water to 300 feet, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year with no load shedding. Nature is the most intelligent, or I can say that plants are the most intelligent organisms biological wise. Nothing, no one is more intelligent than plants because they are self-sufficient, they have adaptations and they are very much resistant, and they spread and they propagate without any aid. So vessels differentiation. Vacuoles secrete many hydrolytic enzymes. Hydrolytic enzymes degrade primary wall region which are not covered by lignified secondary cell walls. So क्या होता है? The non-cellulosic components are degraded, leaving cellulose microfibrils because cellulose is very much resistant. Protoplast completely disappears. So ये तहरीक अंदर से शुरू होती है. मुझ में रहता है कोई दुश्मन जानी मेरा, खुद से तन्हाई में मिलते हुए डर लगता है। Once wall deposition is completed, dead cytoplasm form a layer over the inner side of lumen called warty layer. Warty layer वो layer होता है जो dead cytoplasm से बनता है। Vascular tissue system. Vascular vessels structure in relation to function. Main function conduction of water and nutrients. अब additional function provide mechanical support. Structure mechanical support देता है। ये दो functions करता है। Elements are arranged end to end and form long tube-like channels. This is suitable for uninterrupted passage of water along with minerals. Thick lignified cell wall provides mechanical support. Vessels evolutionary origin. Vessels are believed to be originated from tracheates. Because इनको ज़्यादा एडवांस माना जाता है, ट्रेकीज को कम एडवांस माना जाता है, तो फ्रॉम सिंपल टू कम्प्लेक्स की इवोल्यूशन में, प्रोग्रेसिव इवोल्यूशन में कंसिडर किया जाता है कि जो जितना ज़्यादा कम्प्लेक्सिटी की तरफ जा रहा है, तो इसी वजह से कहा जाता है, दैट्स व्हाई दे बिलीव दैट वेसल्स आर फॉर्म फ्रॉम द ट्रेकीज. In angiosperms, vessels originated from trachees with pitted reticulate helical structure thickening. So, angiosperms में vessels जो है originated from trachees. पहला उनका ख्याल है कि ये pitted reticulate या helical secondary thickening है. Derivation of perforation plate of vessel is most important in evolution. So again vessels का वो vessel plate बन गया. Now अगर आप इधर देखें तो यहाँ पर आप दो फाइबर्स देख रहे हैं. नेक्स्ट हम इसके बारे में पढ़ने वाली आर गोइंग टू स्टडी अबाउट दिस, वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस इट डियर स्टूडेंट्स. तो अजीज़ान मन ये देखें कि इसमें आपको यहाँ पर एसेप्टेट और सेप्टेट मिलेंगे. तो लेट्स सी. Xylem fibers, also called as xylem fibers, a component of xylem. Dead cells, no protoplasm at maturity. अब फाइबर थोड़ा सा सॉलिड होगा, आपको सॉलिड फिजिकल ल्यूमन कम होगा, ल्यूमन बहुत ज़्यादा कम होगा और बहुत ज़्यादा एलांगेटेड होगा और ये इलास्टिक होगा. दैट इज नोन एज xylem fiber. Extra xylem fibers are present in the bast, which are also known as flowing fibers. Bast fiber, commercial fibers और कपड़ों वाले fibers और कॉटन वाले fibers. You know that. जिससे आपके कपड़े बनते हैं वो तो उधर डिस्कस होंगे. रोप्स वाले फाइबर्स, ये वाले फाइबर्स, ये वुड वाले फाइबर्स, एंड दैट्स व्हाई दे आर नोन एज वुड फाइबर्स. A component of xylem. Dead cells, no protoplast at maturity. पहले मैं आपको बता चुका हूँ कि टेमेरेक्साफाइला एक ऐसा है जिसमें बालों का 20-20 साल तक ये जिंदा रहते हैं. Cells with lignified secondary cell wall. Secondary cell wall very thick, बहुत thick हो जाता है. Main function to provide mechanical support. Two types of xylem fibers: fiber trachees, labriform fibers. Xylem fibers are longer than trachees. They have apical intrusive growth. Means they intrude करते हैं, intrusive growth. they ये दूसरों चीज़ों के अंदर घुस जाते हैं और वहाँ तक अपनी रसाई कर देते हैं और इसी वजह से इसको intrusive growth कहते हैं. Fibers, trachees have less development bordered pits. Labriform fibers have simple pits. Fiber trachees, gelatinous fibers found in tension wood is also a xylem fibers. Gelatinous fiber वो जो हम G layer और सारा पहले में डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. Secondary cell wall do not have lignin but have cellulose. This part of cell wall appears as gelatinous. Gelatinous fibers are highly hygroscopic. They absorb water and they are found in the tension wood. You know that, doctor. Because the gelatinous fibers are hygroscopic. Now, xylem parenchyma, that is the component of the xylem. Living cells, अब इतने ज़्यादा मुर्दा चीज़ें हो जाएंगी तो ये तो फिर अपना कोई भी बैक्टीरिया जाकर फंजाई जाकर इनका क्या कहते हैं इनको रॉट करके रख देगा। अब कुदरत का ये अल्लाह किसी जो है इन चीज़ को ऐसे अकेले नहीं छोड़ता कि वो उसको उसके लिए मुकम्मल उसका सपोर्ट करता है कि वो अपने आप को बचाए। कुदरत में ये है। तो इधर जो नेचर की इंटेलिजेंस है और बहुत बेहतरीन है, उन्होंने इन सब चीज़ों के साथ इनका बायोलॉजिकल डिफेंस के लिए xylem parenchyma रख दिया है। अब xylem parenchyma component of xylem है, that is the living cell with cytoplasm and prominent nucleus, thin cellulosic cell wall है, lignified secondary cell wall absent, because it's a parenchyma. Very rarely parenchyma and the secondary xylem undergo secondary growth. Parenchyma store starch, oil, other ergastic substances. Two types of xylem parenchyma, axial and ray parenchyma are there. Axial parenchyma, that is, you can see that here in this picture, and the ray parenchyma originated from elongated fusiform cambial cells, that is fusiform parenchyma, arranged parallel to the long axis of organ in which they occur. For example, stem है तो stem में long axis पर parallel होगा, fusiform होगा. Ray parenchyma originate from ray initial of cambium. Two types, procumbent ray cells, long axis of the cells are radially elongated. Upright ray cells, long axis of cells vertically elongated. तो यहाँ एक radially elongated position wise है. तो दो हैं रे parenchyma का, एक है procumbent ray cells and upright ray cells. ये दो अक़साम हैं रे parenchyma. Based on composition of cell types, two types of rays are there. Homocellular ray, a plant with single type of ray cells, it is homocellular, and heterocellular ray, plant with both type of ray cells. तो किसी में एक ही यानी प्रोकम्बेंट होगा या दो होंगे, ये अगर आप देख सकते हैं एक्सियल पेरेन्काइमा, रे पेरेन्काइमा, या रे सेल्स का प्रोकम्बेंट होगा, अपराइट रे सेल्स, ये दोनों हो सकते हैं. तो होमो सेलुलर रे होगा, और अगर दोनों मौजूद हैं तो फिर हेट्रो सेलुलर रे होगा. टाइलोसिस, axial and ray parenchyma develop protrusion. ठीक है. These protrusion enter invade tracheae or vessels. सही है, वो intrusive होते हैं तो वो अंदर जाते हैं. Invasion occur when tracheae or vessels become inactive, damaged. So tylose outgrowth of parenchyma to the lumen of tracheae or vessels, ये टाइलोस कहते हैं. ये एक खास किस्म का एक आउटग्रोथ फॉर्म कर देते हैं. कहाँ पर? टू द ल्यूमन ऑफ ट्रेकीड्स और वेसल्स. इसको फिर टाइलोस कहते हैं. ये कब होता है? डेवलपमेंट अकर थ्रू द पिट पेयर्स कनेक्शन पेरेन्काइमा एंड ट्रेकीड्स और वेसल्स. तो समटाइम मेनी टाइलोसिस originate, completely fill the lumen and block the path. If that is rot, अगर ये rot हो जाता है तो ये इसको या तो ल्यूमन में या डिफेंस के लिए और ये चीज़ें इसमें होती हैं. तो अगर आप देखें तो ये ल्यूमन के अंदर ये टाइलोसिस फॉर्म हो रहे हैं. ये देखें, ये वेसल है और वेसल के अंदर ये जाकर तो एक बड़े बड़े से बैलून से आप देख रहे हैं, इनको टाइलोसिस कहते हैं. Nucleus and protoplasm of parenchyma are retained in the tylosis. Usually tylosis stay a thin-walled Sometimes secondary thickening occurs in tylosis. Very rarely tylosis differentiate into sclerates. ये पत्थरनुमा cells होते हैं. Tylosis accumulate resins and other secondary materials. They are responsible for characteristics order of wood. They also prevent the degradation of wood by termites and mites. वही biological immunity की बात हम कर रहे हैं. तो टर्मिट्स के और ये जो वुड के दुश्मन हैं उनको से अपने आप को करने के लिए इस तरह किया जाता है. Based on origin, xylem classified into two groups. Primary xylem, जिसके अगेन दो हिस्से हैं, दो पार्ट्स हैं, प्रोटोजाइलम और मेटाजाइलम, और सेकेंडरी जाइलम. जाइलम के दो फॉर्म हैं, प्राइमरी, फिर प्राइमरी में प्रोटो और मेटा, और सेकेंडरी जाइलम है. Primary xylem formed during primary growth, derived from procambium, consists of two parts, protoxylem, metaxylem. Protoxylem क्या है? First form xylem है, differentiate and mature well before the organ complete its elongation, subjected to high stress due to organ development. Usually protoxylem get destroyed. तो प्रोटोजाइलम क्या है? फर्स्ट फॉर्म जाइलम है, क्योंकि ये उससे बनता है, डिफरेंशिएट इन मैच्योर वेल बिफोर द ऑर्गन कंप्लीट इट्स एलोंगेशन. तो ये तो एम्ब्रियोनिक से शुरू हो जाता है, मेरिस्टेम से, सब्जेक्टेड टू हाई स्ट्रेस ड्यू टू ऑर्गन डेवलपमेंट. यूजुअली प्रोटोजाइलम गेट डिस्ट्रॉयड. प्रोटोजाइलम परसिस्ट इन रूट एंड स्टेम. In monocot, protoxylem elements collapse and they form channel called protoxylem lacunae. Monocot में protoxylem elements collapse and they form channels. उसकी जगह channels बन जाते हैं. उस protoxylem की जगह उसको protoxylem lacunae कहते हैं. ये surrounded by parenchymatous cells. तो protoxylem lacunae are not formed in dicots. ऐसे फिर नहीं होता कि मोनोकाट में होता है, डाइकाट में नहीं होता. प्रोटोजाइलम कंटेन्स लेस ट्रिचरी एलिमेंट्स एंड मोर पैरेन्काइमा. यहाँ प्रोटोजाइलम देख सकते हैं, प्राइमरी जाइलम के दो हैं, एक है मेटाजाइलम. मेटाजाइलम इज वाइडर, प्रोटोजाइलम इज very much lesser in diameter. You can see that. So these are Casparian stripped. ये जो बाद में पढ़ेंगे, ये जो कैस्पर साइंटिस्ट के नाम के ऊपर है, वैक्स लेयर है, एंडोडर्मस कार्टेक्स. सो प्रोटोजाइलम ट्रैकीड्स आर नैरो. दे हैव एनुलर और हेलिकल सेकेंडरी थिकनिंग. यहाँ पर ये आपको जनाब प्रोटोजाइलम और ये मेटाजाइलम दिखाई दे रहे हैं. इनमें एनुलर या सेकेंडरी थिकनिंग होती है. मेटाजाइलम क्या है? मेटाजाइलम आप देख चुके हैं कि साइज में बड़ा होता है, प्रोटोजाइलम से थोड़ा अंदर की तरफ है. पार्ट ऑफ प्राइमरी जाइलम, डिराइव्ड और डिफरेंशिएटेड आफ्टर प्रोटोजाइलम. क्योंकि प्राइमरी जाइलम के फिर दो अकसाम हैं, एक प्रोटो है, एक मेटा है. मेटा कहते भी आफ्टर को है. डिफरेंशिएट ओनली आफ्टर द ऑर्गन इन विच दे अकर कंप्लीट elongation. Contain more tertiary elements than parenchyma. तो ट्रैकीड्स इनमें ज़्यादा होंगे. Fibers are parenchyma, cells are present, cells are wider. Usually the scalariform reticulate pitted thickening इनमें होती है. Plants without secondary thickening, metaxylem is functional throughout. Plants with secondary thickening, metaxylem function before secondary growth. तो that helps, ये हेल्प करता है सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ के साथ. तो